So I went home to Florida for a few days, and I struggled with whether or not to talk about why I was in Florida, because it wasn't really my story to tell. I talk about medical stuff on social media, and with that, I get quite a bit of hate, and I get quite a bit of love from you guys too, and I'm here for education, so however you take that is fine, but we are whole individual people as well. And I struggled to make content the last week just because of what I was going home for. So I decided I was going to share what was happening in my family because I think it's important to see people, your doctors, as whole individual people who have their own issues and medical trauma and families and decisions they have to make. But I also wanted to share how this person affected my life as a doctor and the way that I practice medicine and how I do things, because I think that's important for anyone maybe training in medicine. So this is my nephew Alex, and Alex died last month from complications of a gunshot wound to his head when he was 16. This isn't so much about that incident as it is Alex's life and how he changed the people around them and how trauma changes families. So Alex was a absolutely beautiful child who lit up every single room that he went in. I've never seen such an infectious personality. He was someone you wanted to be around. He was completely and totally fearless. And he was kind, and he was funny, and he was athletic, and he was smart. He struggled with ADHD, so I don't think he ever showed necessarily his teachers what he was capable of, but we saw such a huge future ahead of him, and we knew he was going to do pretty astounding things. And at the age of 16, he was shot, and it changed everything. That night was one of the worst calls that any of us have ever had. And I rushed to the hospital to be with my sister and my family, and I was in the room when the trauma surgeon told my sister and his dad that he was not going to make it, that there was no chance, that this was just not going to happen. And I watched this progress where they were told he had, minutes to live. We went, sat by the bedside. I had to stand up and tell all the people in the waiting room that he wasn't going to make it, and try to give my sister advice on how to handle something like this and try to interpret medical information. And I watched my nephew fight, and I watched that healthy 16-year-old body defy every single odd that anyone ever put in front of him. And he went from, just a few minutes to a few days. And then all of a sudden he woke up and he shot people a bird, and we knew that he was in there. And I won't paint a picture that he didn't suffer and struggle, because that's not true. Alex's life was nowhere near what it should have been. It severely damaged his brain, and he ultimately died from complications associated with that head injury. But the point of his life is who he was and what he did to the people around him and how he changed them and how that experience changed our family and then also me as a doctor. So obviously 16 years ago, I had just started practicing medicine. I had little babies. I hadn't really experienced a lot of trauma myself, especially medical trauma. And so I really didn't have a great understanding of the impact with how we talk to families and traumas and emergencies and really hard situations, how much that impacts them. And I watched how my sister and our family responded to different ways of communication and different ways of talking. And you have to know who you're talking to. My sister is a woman of faith, and she puts all of her faith in that, and she needed someone to understand that. And she finally got it. She got a trauma surgeon who came in and said, there's something more at work here. We don't understand what's happening. We don't understand why he's still here, why he's still surviving. So we're going to throw everything we can into this and see if there's any chance that we can make a difference and turn things around. And they listened to her when she said, I'm not done. He's not done. God tells me we're not done. And just watching her advocate for her son and not necessarily put all of her faith and trust in people or what they were saying, but what she believed to be true, She saved his life, and I 100% believe that she did. And however hard it was horribly hard. It's still hard. She is a totally different person now than she was when this happened. The whole family is. And they've grown and they've changed and they've made a difference in the lives of people around them because of what they've been through. And Alex touched every single person that he interacted with and made them better for who they are. But it's definitely changed the way that I approach patients and how I talk to them and how I approach families based on where they are, what is important to them, what do I think they need, and how can I meet them where they are and not just give them medical facts, but be someone that they can lean on during the hardest times of their life. So I encourage any family who is going through a trauma to let your medical providers know who you are, what's going on with you, what's important to you. Demand that they meet you where you are. And if you're a medical provider, I really encourage you to take the time to understand how grief works in different cultures and how belief works in different cultures and who is the patient that you're talking to, who is the person that you're talking to. And I encourage you to think outside of the box. I encourage you to think of each person as not a statistic and not something that a paper's written about, but this individual person, who are they? And what can we possibly do either to ease their suffering or to support a miracle? So I hope that this story reaches someone, and I just hope it allows his legacy to continue in some way that I can contribute to, because he meant the world to me. And I'm forever grateful for what I learned from him and the impact that he had on my life and the impact that my sister and her other children and now their children are having on my life and who I am. And those are the things that really matter. And as we're all fighting for a better world, I want us to remember what we're actually fighting for. We're fighting for a more just world, a more kind world, a more accepting world, and we're fighting for things that matter. And Alex was a huge part of that. So thank you for listening to my story. I hope it helps someone to listen, and I hope it helps continue his legacy and what he contributed. He's so much more than what happened to him. And I think that anyone who's been through this can relate. So take care.